Hi guys, welcome to Now That's What I Call a Talk Show. I'm Faye Louise.
And I'm Jossie Angel.
And what a show we've got for you.
We have an exclusive interview with the founder of Durham Cannabis Club, Simpa Carter, coming up in a little bit.
Yes, but first let's get on with Now That's What I Call Entertainment. What a week it's been. Who caught RuPaul the reunion?
Well, I might have seen some of it.
Well, I mean, are we gonna discuss the drama?
It was the most dramatic reunion ever.
There was so much shade thrown that I was just like, is this going to continue? And from RuPaul, like RuPaul was thrown the shade.
He told them what he thought of them. He really, really did. I think the most controversial thing from the reunion was the Vixen.
When she stormed out?
When she stormed out.
Well, what do you think of the Vixen, truthfully? I'm just going to do some social media.
I think she's very clever and I think she knows what she's doing. I think how she came across on RuPaul didn't show her in a good light. Maybe it ruined her a little bit. I think when she walked out, I was quite surprised that nobody thought to look after her.
I thought she was going to be back.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to be like, oh, she's got. I thought that was like the drama of it. But I felt she didn't want to be there from day one.
No, she did not want to do it. I think maybe it was something she signed up to do, realised I don't want to do it.
Can't get out of contract.
I don't want to quit it, maybe. I really liked what Asia O'Hara had to say.
Or was she? Or was my question? Was she fishing for votes? Because that is a good call to vote. She's always been nice, she's always been sincere, and she has. And she stole our hearts in like the third episode, I think, when she did everyone's designs and she looked dreadful, and it was a bit like, oh, I felt sorry for her. I get that, I thought that was really nice. But the crying, no, this is the reason I did it, it was kind of like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So for me, not so much. I think it was a bit of a, I need some brownie points quickly, because I mean, let's face it, who's she facing? Eureka
and Aquaria.
Aquaria, I mean, come on, Aquaria.
Exactly.
Like, she's turning looks like I'm turning heads.
So the question
Do you know what I mean?
the question is though, who do you think is going to win? Because it is the final.
It is the final, and I think, oh, we haven't even mentioned it, but then no one did on the show. The fourth runner-up.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that was, you know, one of them moments where you probably want the world just to swallow you up. I kind of think that's probably what was going through Cameron's head.
Absolutely.
I think Cameron Michaels is a very, very talented queen and also very, very fit when not in drag.
Yeah, really, really beautiful and really, really nice on that note. I do agree.
But I think who she's up against, maybe she just can't compete with who she's up against. Had she maybe been in a different season with different competition, it might have been a different story. But when you've got big characters like Eureka.
Well, you see, you're saying Eureka, but Aquaria, she has pulled the looks. And as much as the one that shall not be mentioned, as much as she has, she kind of, that's it.
Yeah, I kind of feel with Asia, it's not quite there. She's very, very good, very, very, very professional. I would certainly watch her. But there just seems to be, like, when she does double looks, one look is amazing, it's flawless, and the other one maybe didn't have enough time spent on it.
No, I feel like she puts all the work in, and then she's like, oh, like a second thought, like, oh, I'll just do this quickly.
Maybe, yeah maybe. But I am Team Eureka all the way to the bank. Oh yes, I am for the Elephant Queen herself, so Eureka to win RuPaul's Drag Race. Who are you wanting to win?
I kind of want Aquaria to win. Just because I think it would be just really cool, but for the whole big woman needs to win, blah blah blah, and she's really, really like.
It's not because she's big; it's just because she's entertaining.
Well, yeah, it is that as well. But you know what I'm saying.
She is going to represent.
And for that, yes, she should win.
For that, she should win. Yeah. So.
Well, guys, we have a little bit of sad news. You know, Newcastle has had some really big blows in the past month. We've all suffered. I mean, I lost my dog. Jossie lost her dog. We've had deaths in families, and of course we lost Sophie
from Love Island.
And it was down to mental health.
Yeah, and she was only 30. She was my age.
Such sad news. And the thing is, people obviously are shocked to hear that it's mental health because she was so happy, she was so bubbly, she had a great career, she was going places. But you forget, guys, mental health is not visible.
Mental health is indiscriminate.
Exactly.
It can affect anybody regardless of circumstances, regardless of money. It's horrible and it should be discussed more.
Absolutely.
It should always be discussed.
Hashtag mental health. Stop the silence, guys. But I think it's time for our guest. I am so excited to bring on Simpa Carter from the Durham Cannabis Club. I'm just going to look, if you're out there watching, just comment Simpa. I'm just going to, oh,
There we go.
there he is.
It's a part of
And
the
guys,
show,
for everybody that's watching, please keep sharing. If we don't share, well, no one will watch it. But yeah, it was really, really sad to hear the news. I think I was lost. Hello.
Hello.
Are you okay?
I am well. How are you guys?
I'm really, really well. Welcome to the show. It's your first time on our show. So please introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, and then we'll get on with the interview.
Brilliant. Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us. My name is Simpa Carter. I founded and run Durham City Cannabis Club, one of well over 100 such clubs in the UK that are trying to fill kind of a grey area in the market at the minute, because obviously cannabis remains illegal, yet millions of people want to access it and millions more need to access it for medicinal benefits and for as a requisite for good health. I mean, we all have an endocannabinoid system, so we should all be consuming cannabinoids.
What is an indoor, an inside kind of what is that system? Yeah.
So what?
What is the inside kind of
inside cannabis system?
yeah? What is that?
The endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
It's the largest regulatory system in the body. It actually governs everything else inside of your system. So the endocrine system, your digestive system, it regulates all of the minor systems. So it is, if this is out of whack or not in what they call homeostasis, you will have chronic illnesses and conditions will arise because you're not in optimum health. So used to be, before prohibition, hemp is a complete protein, or cannabis, the seeds made into the oils. It's got all 20 amino acids. So there's the 11 non-essentials and 9 essential, which you can't get anywhere else. You need to get them from a food source. This used to be fed to all cattle. It was in dairy products. It was all getting into our dietary food chain that way. The absence of this has led to an explosion of all kinds of illnesses and conditions.
Well, I think we should get down to this. Recently, we've been seeing like a lot of stories in the news, especially the story of Lily Colwell's mother, and how she was obviously trying to get legalized potential restaurants. And do you feel that steps are being made to introduce cannabis on the market for medical purposes?
Would you repeat the last bit there?
So,
Sorry, it's a bit quiet. Sorry.
do you feel that the right steps are now being made to make cannabis legal, maybe for medical purposes, not for recreational?
I believe that it is entirely a farce, this whole thing of medical recreational. Recreational is a term, same as skunk, used as disparage against our communities and against this requisite for human health and this industrial resource. Cannabis is the oldest symbiotic species that we've evolved with, hence the reason it's in our system. It can be utilized for 50,000 different industrial applications, and yet we're talking about it as single-use patented medications. And all this is moving for is to create a cabal at the top where the pharmaceutical companies like GW Pharmaceutical, Tilray, Bedrocan, and the others have a monopoly, and they control medical cannabis. Cannabis is medical. If it has cannabinoids in it, it will supplement your endocannabinoid system. This is just further divisional politics so that they can capitalize and monetize and monopolize another industry.
So do you feel that the next
ultimately,
step will be legalization and decriminalization? Do you think that is the next step? Because in my opinion, I agree with you. It is all one, cannabis is all one thing. It's not one for medical, etc., etc. Do you think the next step is actually going to be legalized or decriminalized? And how can that implement the system?
Well, if you look at around the world at the minute, the Canadian system, they've just announced the date for their system from October 17th. Their new laws, though, I mean, there's up to 45 new laws dependent on the territory. So under legalization in Canada, you can still face 7 years federal prison for possession of cannabis, for possession alone. That's not legalization. What we need is a legalized model which is regulated with decriminalization, so nobody can ever face a criminal sanction for possession of cannabis, for utilizing cannabis. There are 4 people in Mexico that currently have legalization. They were given it from the Supreme Court, which means there is no restrictions on how much they can cultivate, how much they can consume, how much they can utilize. There's just no restrictions on them. That's what legalization looks like. Sajid Javid, our current Home Secretary, for all the Conservatives, and these are moving to do this because they are part of a monopoly. Theresa May's husband, Philip Hammond, are part of the Capital Group. They are the majority shareholder in GW Pharmaceuticals. GW Pharmaceuticals grows 90 tons of cannabis in a year, which makes Britain the largest producer and exporter of medical cannabis, while we claim it has no medical value. The current Drugs Secretary, Victoria Atkins' husband, his name escapes me, Paul Kenwood, is the head of British Sugar. He cultivates 45 acres of cannabis in Norfolk for GW Pharmaceuticals. You can see how these people then can stand at the top and says it has no medicinal value while they're making serious money off it. Epidol-X, which is a drug coincidentally talking about Charlotte, talking about Ava as well, and various other, sorry Charlotte, I didn't mean Charlotte, I meant Billy Caldwell. Charlotte's another girl that has epilepsy from obviously Charlotte's Web in America a few years ago, you might remember the story. Epidol-X is now a single-use patented traded on the stock market drug that's just been approved by the FDA in America, which means very soon it will get European approval. Once Britain then says we can have...
Oh, are you still there?
Right, yeah, I paused for a second. Sorry, as I was saying, that with the coincidental of timing, obviously the people that are in the news are saying, oh, we need medical cannabis for our children. They're then going to say, well, actually, this is what you'll get. Medical cannabis is pharmaceuticalized. What you grow at home, your raw cannabis, is street weed. That's skunk weed. That's dangerous weed. That's the narrative they're perpetuating with this Schedule 2 bullshit. Because they're only moving it from Schedule 1, which it currently stands. Cannabis is a Schedule 1 substance with a Class B penalty for possession, cultivation, distribution. They're going to move it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, so that the pharmaceutical companies are free to legally do as much research as they want. So they'll create umpteen amounts of individual single-use drugs, which they will make billions on. At the same time, when somebody, an MS patient or an ME patient or whomever, wants to utilise cannabis to lessen their illness, they would be banned from growing it at home. They would have to get it on a prescription. These prescription charges are crippling the NHS. For Sativex, the spray that they currently use for MS patients, it's £450 a month. People in my circle can produce this product for about £30. So you can understand what's going on here. It's not a case of people, I understand people need access to cannabis, but it's a weed, you know what I mean? You plant the seed, it will grow. Durham have just announced last week, was it last week? No, it was this week actually. Mike Barton, our Chief Constable, that the court system, this is the magistrates in Durham, will no longer issue search warrants for personal cultivation of cannabis. If you live in County Durham and you need to access cannabinoids, grow it, because they're not even going to come and raid you anymore. It's a different paradigm, and the other police and crime commissioners around the UK are starting to follow suit here.
So if it does become legalized, will that in turn be able to create jobs? Well, jobs and for people to have a legitimate business.
Entirely. Look at what happened in America. The economic stimulation.
So,
sorry, I spoke over you there.
Could it be argued? I guess could it be argued that we could be given drug dealers legitimate business? That was a question that came into us. We wondered that if legalization etc. happens, does that create a job for drug dealers who deal cannabis? Or can make a legitimate
or
business
can
out
they,
of
or
it.
will, do you think they'll ever be able to make a legitimate business, or do you think the government will just control it all and it'll just be overly priced bullshit? Yeah, we just got to be able to grow our own homes to be so cheaper.
Well, look at the system that's occurring in some of the states. Colorado is an interesting example. Obviously, they legalized, what was it, nearly 6 years ago now. They use millions in taxation of revenue to supplement higher education. People going to university, they used to have to pay fees. There is the fringe industry, so you've now got people setting up cannabis law firms, you've got people setting up cannabis marketing agencies and PA agencies. So that the economic stimulation from cannabis is exponential. It really is. It's already bigger than cereals in America. You know what I mean? There are more cannabis distribution dispensaries in Colorado than there are Starbucks and McDonald's combined.
Wow, I couldn't think of that.
We could literally put this country back to work. The Tories have been manipulating the unemployment figures in this country. So you're talking, what, 10 million people easily that are lost to this system through 0 hours contracts and various other manipulations, that we could literally get back harvesting cannabis. In Colorado at the minute, just for cutting weed, literally cutting cannabis prepared for sale, is twice the minimum wage.
It could totally
And that's
change
the
the
lowest of the
culture.
top. You know what I mean?
And be
And
honest
that's not
as well.
including the industrial applications.
Be honest to everyone that's watching. Is there any part of the legalization of weed and taking weed, etc.? Is there any negatives? Because I personally don't feel that I've been a witness to any negative. All the things I read in the news is just all kind of rubbish. Is there any negatives that people do need to be aware of, especially when you touch upon what you do read in the news about mental health and how smoking weed can bring on psychosis, etc.? I don't believe that. But do people who maybe don't know anything about cannabis need to be aware of any potential negatives?
Definitely. As you were discussing earlier, and I applaud you for, is discussing mental health. In the UK, suicide is the biggest killer of adult men. Suicide. It's because we're all boxed in from each other. We're emotionally stunted. We're not allowed to express what it is to be human. It denies us the ability to articulate and to live as we wish. So we're all going around drinking ourselves to death. Instead, we could be utilising cannabis. So you've got to consider what alcohol and tobacco and caffeine and other legal drugs do to mental health. Saying that, cannabis can precipitate a schizoid or psycho type event, what am I trying to say here? A psychological break, sorry. In the same way that anything else can. Alcohol can, a bad relationship breakup could, a car accident. This is not that cannabis is doing it, it's latent within your epigenetics, you know what I mean, within your genes and your environment. So then it's the same with if people are allergic to nuts. We then keep these people away from peanuts. You give them an EpiPen. You then you put on labels on things that this contains nuts. We need the same thing, education rather than scaremongering. Rather than using reefer madness, we should be educating children at the earliest point to understand that cannabis can't kill you. But then if we lie to you and say that cannabis is dangerous and you try it and it's proven not to be, you're more likely to try something like heroin and go, well, you probably lied about that too, didn't you?
There just seems to be such a negative, it's almost like a propaganda going on, especially in the media.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary the other day about the skill murder within the centre, the he was murdered by a brother. And they were kind of trying to blame it on weed because they were like, he smoked 15 grams a day and he had psychosis. But then they also mentioned that he would have like 20 cans as well. So I was thinking, well, maybe the 20 cans had something to do with the violent behaviour, not the weed. Because personally, I would much rather have a lovely conversation with somebody who's safe than somebody who's drunk. Because it's different kinds of reaction people have from it.
Do you feel cannabis is addictive, just like alcohol and cigarettes?
No, I've got an interesting viewpoint on this though, because I mean, I started smoking. I made a deal with my mother when I was 10. That I was stealing money off her, and she'd buy me 10 boxes of Lambert every day. So I'm waiting for the feed to catch up. My camera's going funny. And then I used to mix that with cannabis. And then about 3 years ago, I gave up smoking tobacco, and my relationship with cannabis changed overnight. I went from smoking 10 joints a day to a couple. actually utilizing the plant when I wanted to, rather than this twisted married relationship that I had. So that tobacco, the nicotine, which in most countries is considered a more addictive substance than heroin, was driving that addiction. And just one more point on that, 77% of Europeans mix their cannabis with tobacco. That's the issue here. That's why we have to speak of addiction in this country. Whereas the Americans, it's not a done thing. And that's because of the proliferation of solid hash, you know what I mean, the pod cannabis, which you then have to dust into tobacco to make it burn. Or well, you could use cannabis, of course.
What would it mean, and what does decriminalization and legalization mean? As in, for me, if it's legal, then obviously do what you want. Everyone has a total playing field and they can do what they want. But if it's just decriminalized, what could that actually mean for the people that buy it off the street? Are they going to be able to go like and buy it next to your lamb with cigarettes? Or is it always going to be like frowned upon? It's going to be a hate thing? Because it's nearly 100 years now, right, on. And it's just changed a little bit. It's not alcohol, it's cannabis. Are the cannabis clubs the new speakeasy of the 20s? Because that's how it's looking to understand.
Yes, I would agree they are. I mean, the difference between legalization and decriminalization is exactly that, is supply. A legalized market is a regulated supply. So you'll be able to buy it in shops, and it will have batch numbers, it will have certification, there'll be certain protocols that will have to be followed to cultivate and extract the cannabinoids for whatever preparations are available. A decriminalized market means that nobody will see the inside of a prison cell for cultivation or consumption, but it leaves the criminals in place to make tens of billions off cannabis. Sorry, tens of billions, probably a bit over an estimate, but you understand what I'm saying. It is a great deal of money. Whereas under a legal market, the people that have been operating illegally, but have the cultivation skills, that have the salesman skills, as it were, and have the experience, that will be available to go on their CV. They'll be able to translate that into employable skills.
Yeah. I've always thought that. When I've watched documentaries on TV about crime and drug dealing, I've always thought to myself, they're running in, they're raiding these places. But these individuals are running a business. They are doing calculations, they are doing sums, they are doing, in a sense, a loan. If you borrow some weed and you have to pay it later. There's a whole business within it, but they're just looked upon as criminals. But really, they're just surviving in an industry, in a market that they understand.
Yeah, they're just venture capitalists. They've found a product that can make money, and they're utilizing it. But the thing of it is, under a legal market, we could make exponentially more.
Yeah.
Well, I work as a carer. That's like my full-time job. And I do follow the stories about how cannabis is beneficial. I do think it is beneficial. Things like ADHD, epilepsy, and just general health. I personally think that many patients that are looked after probably would benefit from having like CBD oil or something like that. It would just alleviate all their symptoms. And it gets quite frustrating when you just think that's all it would take to maybe make people feel better and have a better quality of life.
Mm-hmm. If cannabis is going to create a better quality of life for people who need it, then I just think give them it now. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is it. It's, for me, cannabis is closer to a vitamin than it is an illicit drug. It is a requisite for health. The supplementation of your endocannabinoid system means that you won't contract these illnesses and these conditions. Cannabis isn't a panacea. It doesn't cure all these illnesses. That's not how it works. It allows you to get your system into homeostasis. Your then regulatory body then helps you deal with whatever illnesses it is. This is the mechanism that cannabis seems to have around cancer.
Mm-hmm. So what is next, do you think? What is the next step within our country? Do you think we will ever see a day where you can go to a coffee shop on the quayside in Newcastle and have a joint while you have a coffee? You know what I mean? Will we ever get to that point? I mean, a lot of my friends go to Amsterdam and they say it's just so liberal and so so easy going. Will we ever get to that stage? Because so many countries in the world seem to be following suit and legalizing it.
This is the mad thing as well. If you say go to Amsterdam, people wouldn't bat an eyelid if you said I went to Amsterdam and I had to do good. But if you just said, yeah, you have to go into your own mind, whatever, in the next time, you would be proud of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's the culture thing. It's the culture thing in that whole media propaganda and how they only want to show the negative.
Well, I remember years ago when I was doing some modelling in London, and I remember I was with a girl called Gemma who always smoked weed because it really helped her with her appetite because she was a very slim girl. And a lot of the girls, she'd offered them to have a J. She'd say, oh, do you want to go for a J? And they were like, oh my God, you'll go crazy from that. And then literally 20 minutes later, they were in the toilet snorting cocaine. So they'll snort cocaine, but they won't have a joint that's grown in the ground. I was blown away by the idiotic people that were shoving things in their nose, and I couldn't understand how they couldn't see that was bad, that was worse than having a J. And it just seems to me that weed has such a bad name, yet it doesn't cause any issues.
It's become a
I think one of the main reasons that cannabis has a bad reputation here is because people use it to deal with the symptoms of mental health disorders and illnesses that are at epidemic levels in our culture, because our culture is the sickness. This is why, I mean, depressed people score highest in aptitude tests, reality aptitude tests. In other words, the more depressed you are, it's because you can see the mechanisms of the world. And this is what happens with people that then consume cannabis. It's an introspective drug. It causes metacognition. People to actually look at their lives and analyze what is going on. This is one of the reasons they want to keep people away from it. And the one thing that people value over anything is their cognition. This is why Alzheimer's and dementia is so scary for most people. So if you threaten that in a sustained campaign of propaganda, people will ultimately stay away from that substance. But this is why we have to remind them that no one has ever died from cannabis. Regardless of these people coming out and saying that, oh, my son died from this, it's the latent mental health disorders, the underlying issues that cause them. And it's their parents looking to scapegoat an illicit substance rather than deal with their own shortcomings, in my opinion, in a lot of cases. Not every time, mostly.
I personally feel that cannabis should be able to be grown by whomever wants to grow it. I do feel for a purpose that if it is legalized, I do feel we still have to have some restrictions, just as we do with cigarettes and smoking.
Quality.
Yeah, like a quality control. And this comes from a good place as well. If it becomes legalized, I hope it's a good quality, because if it's not, well, it was a total waste of time.
Well, if not, you'll just see the black market plug the hole. But this is what you're seeing in places like California and Colorado. They have to have tests. They have to have pesticide tests. They have to even come in and inspect the sites. You know what I mean? And the people generally grow them in white suits and whatnot. You know, so there's very little contaminants.
Yeah.
That's what is a legal marketplace. If we want to reduce the potential harms of cannabis, then we need to legalize and regulate it. But at the same time, I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day who made the point that cannabis as a resource, the plant itself, should be descheduled and should be legal. It should be what you choose to do with the products at the end that need regulated, because then if you want to sell it, we need to determine that it's good quality, that it's safe, and it can be sold. But if you just want to cultivate it yourself and consume it with your friends, there's no reason for a regulatory body to get involved with that. That's just excessive bureaucracy.
So do you feel that we will get it legalized? But before we do, for everybody that's listening and who will watch this video, if there's a concerned parent or if there's an adult who is taking cannabis or their partner is, where can they go for support that they won't be frowned upon? Because, you know, if my kid was smoking weed and I was a bit concerned and I didn't really know, if I was to go to the doctors, it would be made out as if it was the worst thing in the world. But if I was to go to someone like you and have a coffee and have a chat and you could explain everything, where is there anywhere for people to go, like a website or obviously your Facebook page? Can people approach you to ask for information on that level as a more of a safeguarding issue for individuals?
Yes, I mean, I do this every day, and this is one of the main things I do. I am actually operating a slightly different way to the other cannabis clubs in that I'm trying to just be a base for education. So every other day I'm meeting people up for coffees from all walks of life that again have certain concerns, that are just trying to understand what it is that's going on here, because all they can see the lies themselves now. We've hit the 100th monkey. We've passed the tipping point of consciousness in our culture. People know that they're being lied to. They just can't see the truth. So this is why I do shows like this, and I do a series of 3 live videos a week to educate people. But ultimately, all of this information is out there on the internet. It's just, you've kind of got to, it's scary, but going down the rabbit hole of acknowledging that actually maybe some of the institutions that govern us aren't doing so for our own benefit. Once you can kind of step back and be open-minded enough, you can see the mechanisms. But if you're just in that mindset of, well, the government wouldn't lie to me, the media wouldn't lie to me, you're never going to see the truth. You kind of have to go a bit tinfoil to see what's going on, you know?
I agree with that. I really do. Well, we want to both, of course, thank you for joining us to do the interview today. But also, we would like to invite you to stay back on our video just in case anybody's got any questions, so you can maybe interact with some of the comments, if that would be okay.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Well, once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us. You've been so educational. You even taught me some things, and I thought I knew everything. But you've really, really educated. I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. And head over to your Facebook page, and Simpa will be waiting to have some questions answered. And he's there to answer you with all your questions you need. So thank you once again for joining us.
No bother. Thank you again for having me.
Okay, thank you. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I wondered if it was our or his signal. That's all I can think of. So educational. Guys, as we said, if you've got any questions, please get out and also share this video. Educational side of it out, because there is people that I come across when I do a lot of support work, and I think, oh, if only you could just know the both sides of it. Because there is pros and there is cons with everything, guys.
If people would just open their minds, I think that's the thing. I think, forget what you've heard before, just listen to what's being said. And then in the end, if you still don't agree with it, well, you don't agree with it, but listen to the facts.
Well, it's turned into a bit of a drama. What happened to being just a couple of hippies in a field? Let us get on with it.
I know.
Anyway, guys, it's time for Now That's What I Call the News. And just before I forget, I hope you're all listening out there on Trans Radio. We are always live, always expecting fun, and always giving you what you need. So, the news, Jossie.
Well, we watched a documentary.
Oh, we did. We watched a documentary today, and we really enjoyed the documentary. And we just been to the Hoppins, and we saw, I mean, it was a vibrant selection of individuals. Diverse, everyone was there. And then we watched this documentary just while we were just sitting and researching for the show. And we were so horrified. 11 years on now, the death of Sophie Lancaster. Because, and this is how simple it was, because of the clothes she wore. And I just wonder, and we put this out to you, because this is our last question. Have we grown, guys? Are we there yet? Or do we still have more growth? Because I still worry sometimes when I'm in social situations. Am I 100% safe here? Because 11 years ago, a young girl got kicked to death for having dark hair, a bit of dark makeup, and being goth.
That was the only reason her and her boyfriend were attacked. Our boyfriend survived the attack. But
our boyfriend did, but
wow. It just... To me, I just don't understand how somebody could decide that I'm going to beat you up because I don't like what you're wearing. Like, I'm sure sometimes there's things you wear.
Girl, I hate what you wear.
But I don't want to beat you up, or, you know what I mean?
And I think that we need to all remember, we do the show for a reason. We do the show to help and support. We're always here. But you need to remember, guys, the world we live in may look great now because we're painting a path of success for everyone else. But always remember where we've came from and the struggle. I mean, the struggle is real, literally.
And it's why we believe in equality.
Equality. That's the reason that we do so much work with Equal, World Equal, in Equal magazine, and also with Now That's Equal. It is all about equality for everyone on the spectrum. For cannabis smokers, for medical marijuana, for everybody, LGBT, TSSSY, whatever. Just remember, guys, 11 years ago today, somebody died because of the clothes she wore.
Exactly. And 11 years wasn't that long ago. We were the same age as the girl that died, so, you know what I mean? It could have been us because maybe back then we did look a bit different. Oh, society.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show, and don't forget, guys, please share. I've been Faye Louise.
I've been Jossie Yendall.
And we're going to go and watch the telly. Good night, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Send any questions in. Don't forget to share.